I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And between 2020 and now, our team has reached out to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on August 10th. Summer's still here. It's cool here today in Toronto, but man, the heat was here and it's coming back. But you know what? The best place to be on Saturday nights, at least when it's broadcasting and even on the replays, is Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. And here they are. The stars of the show are in the house. What's going on, ladies?
It's been a week. We had a good week.
Long week.
Long week. Yeah.
Very long. Very long
week. What's been going on in your worlds, ladies?
Well, we did something really fun this week, didn't we, Aisha?
Yes,
tell.
We did. Our Girlfriends Chat podcast, which, we do it on Patreon. We're making them free now and uploading them to the Discord. They're available on the Patreon. You don't have to have a subscription. But this week we had a 2-hour and 10-minute conversation with Miss Jill Jones. And
it would have been longer if I didn't have an appointment.
and we only made an hour and 15 minutes available because I had to edit down some things. Because, there's some things that you want to keep between girlfriends. But it was a nice conversation. We had a good time. Lots of laughter. And the thing about it that I think you get from it and from the three of us talking was that there's a lot of joy there,
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really am liking now about this political season is that now that things have shifted, there's more joy. I think, and I'm feeling it like in the country. I do feel a certain segment of the population is still sad and miserable. But there's a lot.
They were before. They're always going to be.
But there's a lot of joy here now, and you get that in our conversation. So it was pretty great.
Good stuff. Well, it's good to see the three amigos are back together again. Anyone watching Olympics?
Yes. Now I'll save the thing about this breakdancing thing because it's
okay.
horrible.
So it's not just you. It's okay. So my daughter was showing me a clip of the breakdancing thing, and I'm like, who decided this needs to happen this way? It's like it's that Columbusing thing of things that come from our culture, and I don't recognize it as breakdancing. To me,
it's not.
It looks more like people. And I have seizures. It looks more like somebody having a major grand mal seizure. I've seen myself having one, so I know what it looks like.
It's horrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I mean, it's actually pretty disgusting. It actually looks like an SNL skit.
Yeah, they should drop off the dancing part of it and just call it breaking because somebody's going to break something.
They sure are.
Well, a Canadian one.
These conniption fits that they're calling breakdancing are just unjust and unsightly.
Well, let's say hello in the house to fan number one, Jen Myers. What's going on, Jen?
Hey,
and I think who did watch the chat
is JJ Mars. There it goes. The
top. Hey, JJ.
What's going on in Colorado weather-wise? What's going on Colorado political-wise? What's been going on? Before we also get into the main part of chat, this week was the anniversary 10 years of Michael Brown being murdered in St. Louis. And it didn't get a lot of coverage in the news outside of maybe NPR. And NPR did not. Actually, NPR had a reporter in St. Louis all week, Michelle Martin, reporting every day. But other than that, not really much. Any thoughts where America is 10 years after Michael Brown?
We're nowhere. We're not any better.
I mean, you still see, remember, Michael Brown happened 10 years ago, and then George Floyd happened in 2020. So, and then Dante? I can't remember his last name. It happened, a few weeks after that. So, here's the thing is that we have not moved forward on this at all because people still don't want to have a racial reckoning in this country. How do we know we're not that far? Because we have a whole political party trying to convince America that the Black female candidate is not Black. And you an insult. We have someone like Kevin Sorbo, who's who's at this point a D-list actor, hasn't had a good role since the 90s, talking about, if she's really Black, then let her say the N-word. Well, first of all, she's not going to say it to you or in front of you so you can witness it. And second of all, that is not how we as Black people measure Blackness.
All right. Okay.
Wow, I missed out that altogether. I didn't even hear that one, Aisha.
And was it Lucy Lovelace, who had the show with him, defended him by saying he has defended Black people before. The Black person he defended, she's talking about?
Who?
O.J. Simpson.
Okay, yeah, no. Oh, we are here. We are here. And now the reports are that Trump is calling Kamala Harris every word out of his mouth behind the scenes. Because he doesn't know what else to do. He's so, okay, y'all remember in The Wizard of Oz where she threw the water on the witch and she, man, that's what I see. I see a little blue blob spinning in the circle talking about he's melting because he is really melting.
Yeah, remember I told you guys on the conversation with Jill, I said, remember when we used to watch the Jetsons and how Rosie the robot used to short circuit and all the smoke coming out of ears? And parts falling off. That's him right now because he doesn't know how to run against her.
No, he's lost. He really doesn't know. This was not in his agenda.
Don't worry, family. They got time. They'll pull something out. Don't worry.
They won't. No, because you got to understand this party is not there. There are things that they can pull out, but it would be different if this wasn't someone who has run political campaigns and won the thing he's looking at. She's won every political campaign she ran. DA is a political office that you're elected to. She won that. Attorney generals won. Senators won. Then vice president, and now she's running for president. There's not anything that they can pull out that hasn't been pulled out and thrown against her by this point. And the truth of the matter is people are exhausted from all the misery. It's like, this is kind of like, put it this way, we've been a nation on fire and someone finally has thrown water on that fire. Misery, I think people are tired of being miserable. And all they have is misery and grievance. And you know what? There are people that you get tired of hearing. You ever meet someone, you have a friend like that, you're like, I just can't deal with this person right now because all they are is completely miserable all the freaking time.
All the time.
And you start to avoid them. That's what we have right now. And the bottom line is he has no new tricks. And the other thing too, it would be different if his goal was to work for a country to make things better for certain people. But we have to remember his primary reason for running is to stay out of jail. It's to stay out of jail. And now that and you got to remember too, what also happened this week is that his other case, the case that Tanya Chutkan had, is back on.
Yeah.
He gets sentenced in 2.5 weeks.
Yes. How do you think that's going to pan out?
He's too busy focused on that to even have a political strategy. I mean, you got to remember too, he's fired people in his campaign, But when you have someone that people who had the experience in politics cannot go to and say, sir, you've got to stop mispronouncing her name. Sir, you've got to stop with the racism. You've got to stop doubling down.
And he won't.
He's not. He could have really spent this week talking about other things, but all he did was focus on her. And here's the difference is that his campaign is focused on her. She's focused on the future. She's focused on what she
all right.
people.
I thought you were going to get into this later on, but obviously this makes me feel like Wednesday, and I missed out on Wednesday's conversation. You're just like, open the door, go. So let's get to some things. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa at Patreon. There is the link. The store. There is the link. It will be in your comments section on most of the platforms you're watching this live on replay, and it looks like some new stuff is going to be coming in the store. Join Primetime Saturday Discord group. Email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show and hit the notification button. Let's get it to 1,600 subscribers. You can also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I think we can start now. All right. I think we're going to start with this. What LaLa wanted to bring this up, and I think it's a very good conversation piece to start off the meat of today's conversation. What are people outside of America saying about the upcoming American presidential elections? LaLa, kick it off.
Well, I had a really good talk with one of my friends. I sell in Portugal, and I have a lot of friends over there because I'm learning the language. And we had a really good conversation about how he sees. He said, what's going on in your political world? This is so crazy. And I was like, I didn't want to bias him. So I said, well, what do you think is going on in America? Because I'm curious to know what you think about it. And he's from Italy. And he basically said that he does not think that Kamala will win. He thinks that her policies are too crazy, and that her track record is not right because of all the arrests that she had made and did in California and all these things. That he thinks that Trump is going to win. Even though he's crazy, Trump tells the truth. And also that Trump is a good businessman. When I tell you I wanted to throw up, because this is someone that I love dearly. And he's not a Trumpster. He is actually talking about what he sees us as. And what he has been fed is all the Trump madness, because that's what's been in the media, right? And so I gently let him finish talking, and then I gently corrected him on absolutely everything. And he looked at me and his mouth dropped open. And I said, well, did you research those stats on Kamala? No. You know what? I didn't. Because he's a real honest dude, right? He's really laid back. He loves politics. He likes to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But once I explained everything to him, he was like, I don't have the whole picture, do I? And I said, no, you do not. So the majority of the world right now only sees the fact that Trump is, they see him as a good businessman. They see him as, I can't even believe that he brought up the fact that he thought Kamala had put all these people in jail, especially Black men.
Right. And that just got, that got widely debunked, and it's being debunked over and over and over again. And we're going to get to this conversation. And this is also another reason why, to your point, Dr. Vibe, that I don't think that he's going to be able to stop her in that way, is because we're going to talk about that political action committee. But I can tell you this, the thing of it is that there are a lot of people worldwide. You got to remember, Trump has probably 40 years on Kamala in terms of his reputation that he built up largely by calling in stories to the New York Post and places like that. And so remember, people's memory of Donald Trump are for two things. They're from the 80s and
Yes.
what they saw on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Remember that? Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it gave the illusion that he was wealthy, but Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was no different than MTV Cribs. A lot of that stuff was rented, or faked. And then what they saw on The Apprentice. So these are the only things that people have. And then our media in America has done a very disservice, not just to our country, but to the international conversation, because what we're exporting is trash. It's unchecked garbage. And for example, we're going to talk about what Lawrence O'Donnell, as Karen Hunter said on her show this week, he was hotter than fish grease about the way the media covered him, his supposed press conference, which really was just a ranting session for him, a hemming session with the media. I think that the media that gets put out so much from the United States, and you got to think about where people are getting it from now, from outside the country. They're getting it from social media. That is the number one source of people's news, and nothing on social media. Nothing on social media is fact checked. Twitter decides to do it every now and then, but they'll fact check the wrong person sometimes. Because I've been fact checked on things that are obviously true and written into history. But they
don't believe in that no more. That's the whole thing. They're debunking all of that. But when I actually explained to him, he said, "Well, I don't understand." He said, "Then why is Trump so? I don't get it." I said, "Sweetie, he is pandering into the people who fall within hate. He speaks to those who have hated a lot behind closed doors. And he made it okay for them to come out and start speaking their mind any way they want to. He has weaponized words once again. He has built all sorts of lies about. And when you really look down, why do you think he's such a good businessman? He couldn't answer. And when I told him how many bankruptcies he had, he was absolutely shocked. So you understand there is a disconnect. The world sees one thing, and what we're experiencing in America is another. This is actually pretty frightening, but it was actually a very enlightening conversation for me.
Yeah. But here's the other part of it too. None of those people can vote. That's
right.
the one good thing for us. They can't vote. They have no vote here.
Yeah.
And that perspective and that image is something that she will have to change upon being elected. But the bottom line is that even with all of the negative stuff that they're saying on social media, you have to remember that people are also being targeted. People from other countries are being targeted with misinformation, disinformation, and ads. My Twitter account was locked for a whole week. And then I got back on this week, and then I complained about how, why is it that the only ads I see are from publications or points of view that show me Republican stuff, and that goes against the algorithms for anything that I look up. Do you know what happened? All of a sudden, I no longer see those things. Everything I'm seeing now is pro-Harris walls. I made the one complaint because guess what? I told them that I picked up on the algorithm, and the algorithm picked up on the fact that I picked up on the algorithm because it's tuned into what you write and what you post. And so what happened? The algorithm switched. These algorithms are also being run by AI and not people. So they're sensitive to what you post and they automatically switch. I think the other thing too, we had this conversation in our where we talked, was it when we were, LaLa and I had this text back and forth, and we were talking about actually Kamala Harris's choice of VP. And she was saying something, and I said, hey, that particular news source is a conservative-leaning British tabloid. And she didn't know. And the thing is that because I spend a lot of time in journalism and all that, I know how to tell if a source is where it's leaning and how to find out the background and the history of it. Because that particular publication at one point in time had been a reputable news source, but in the last 30 years has been a conservative tabloid. And so these are the dangers. Most people don't, if it's something that says, oh, like the Washington Examiner, oh, people are assuming that that's not a right-leaning tabloid in the US. They're assuming that it's a regular newspaper that does its due diligence, and they don't. Their job is to write hit pieces for people on the left. I mean, people on the right against people on the left. That is their job. And so it's no wonder that people in other countries are having this kind of view.
I know. And that's, here I am, you know, I think I'm a little more educated than a lot of people, because a lot of people don't spend a lot of time on the things that we do because we prepare for the show and we really pay attention. So here I am, like looking up some things that before I say something publicly, I want to be responsible in knowing that I'm saying something that is true. So I still haven't said anything about what my concern is because I still don't have an answer, because all the places that I've looked have not been reliable sources.
Right. So there are those things, and I think that is where most people are, LaLa, because remember, when we were coming up, your newspapers like the New York Times, you could trust them to tell you the truth.
I know.
You can't trust Maggie Haberman of the New York Times right now to tell you the truth when she's busy trying to get on Trump's good side, so that if he wins, she can get access again, so she can get another Pulitzer. You just can't.
And see, everybody is out for themselves, and no one is out for America. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But he's made that okay too. Not that this is anything new. All right. I will not put that part all on Trump. I won't, because honestly, for a long time, people are always out for number one. We know that. That's nothing new. Mm-hmm. He's just made it really easy for people to do that as long as they're in his good graces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So LaLa, have you had any other conversations with your international client base?
Yes, actually, I did speak to someone. I was speaking to someone from Canada, and she, same thing. You know, it's just not good. You guys are just not good. And I thought and thinking to myself, you should know a lot about us and talk about us, but I kind of talk about your politics too, because it was just, everything out of her mouth was, you don't need any of them. And this was actually before Biden had stepped down, and her whole thing, I mean, she gave me a whole lecture on our elections. And I actually was a bit offended, because it was like, you know, nothing. Everything out of your mouth was what you assumed. Just because you own one property here in Florida, you think you know everything about our country, and she actually said, I own property there. Well, that doesn't make you an expert in our politics.
Yeah, look, that's like me going to Montana and saying that I'm an expert in Montana's state legislative politics. I'm not. But you talk to me about South Carolina, you talk to me about Connecticut, I know a whole lot, right? Places that I've lived. You know, I've seen more people online from this country having more nuanced dialogue, however, online, and about this with people who are from other countries. And I think that once they start talking to people who know things, the lines of communication get open, but people also, their eyes get opened as well. Like this one woman was trying to, said that she was explaining to someone from France, asked her about, they didn't understand the Electoral College. They didn't understand it. And she said, well, how do I explain it to you to say that, imagine wanting to count your slaves imagine owning slaves and wanting to count your slaves in the voting population, but you don't want to allow them to vote.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, first of all, that's exactly how we got it. But second of all, that's exactly what it is. And so the way that we handle, I think what the lens also is that it's hard to see our politics without seeing it through the politics of your own country first. And we do that too. And we look at the politics of other countries. We try to see it through the politics of how the United States politics run.
I agree.
How things run in other countries. And, we always fall back on our own experiences to explain things to us that we don't understand.
I have to agree with that. Because it's real easy to get in other people's business and not know the Kool-Aid flavor. Yeah. Just as simple as that.
Yeah. And not only that, but these conversations are also having the dialogue and having understanding is good. But when those people go on these social media spaces and start spewing disinformation, they don't realize that they are affecting and impacting our elections.
All right. Got some comments. We got some comments here. Jan Myers says, hope we're doing well. We are. JJ Myers from Colorado says, nice weather today. Thumbs up for Colorado weather. Also says, a person's bloodline should not be important, just their policies and views. And also, there she is, Dr. Tachi, the driving force behind Indie Soup Media. If you don't know what Indie Soup Media is all about, independent content creators network with about 35 to 40 now content creators. A lot of my content is featured on there, plus I'm on the advisory board. But if you want to find out more about Indie Soup Media, here's the link, indiesoupmedia.tv. And coming up to 6 months, I think they probably hit it by now.
7 months already. Wow.
Up to 6 months, 17,000 YouTube subscribers. So definitely catch this conversation, edited version, and other great conversations on that platform. So I think we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 30 seconds, and we'll start talking about our next conversation piece. Just tee it up for you. The next thing the ladies are going to be chatting about is the upcoming debate with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. In one of our promos, LaLa said, it ain't going to happen. Well, it's happening.
I still no. It ain't happened yet. So I'm still on my fence.
All right.
And remember, he's got to be sentenced before it happens. So.
Okay. All right. Let's get to it. 30-second break. Okay, let's get to it now. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. Join Aisha K. Staggers and LaLa Key as they cut through the chaos and make some sense of the nonsense in American news and politics.
But you still got to give him the respect that he has been doing this a long time.
Sharp insights, bold opinions, and a touch of humor. It's the show that keeps you informed and entertained.
Nobody's talking about that. Aisha, that's pretty powerful.
Don't miss Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. Tune in and stay ahead of the headlines. All right, we are back. Yes, promos are kicking. Girlfriend chat is kicking. You know what I'm saying? All right, on the Facebook page, greetings from Dublin Musicians, Ireland.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Very, very nice to have you. Very, very nice to have you. And please don't be a stranger. Dr. Tachi says, we'll see. He will try to find a way to weasel out of it in regards to the debate. So, LaLa, you have support. You have support.
Well, I agree too, because remember that he gets sentenced September 3rd. Yeah. I think it's very much dependent upon what happens, because here's the thing: if he gets sentenced at all, even if they kick it down for past the election time, he is going to get really desperate. And when he gets very desperate, like he is right now, he's very sloppy, very, very sloppy. But that also will give her something else to say in the debate. This man has not only been convicted, he's been sentenced. Yeah. He does not need to be right. It gives her something else. And the thing of it is that he does not want that smoke. He thinks he does. And let's be clear. He's going off those 3 Black women from the NABJ last week, thinking that he's going to steamroll her the way that he steamrolled them. She's got the wind behind her back. And just like she handled the hecklers the other day.
Oh, yeah.
and she handled the hecklers, but also let's not forget how she handled Mike Pence when he tried to do the Trump thing and talk over her. And she said, I'm speaking. Because the bottom line of it is that dealing with Black journalists are one thing. Dealing with a Black woman who
on this level, level,
who is a lot smarter than you, a lot more savvy than you, and has no patience for your bull, that's something totally different.
Okay, a question here. Well, Phil Fenner from Ireland says, hey, he also says, we don't like 45 over here, exclamation point. So, all right, Ireland's chimed in. Could you imagine he wins? Holy blank. I won't say what he said. All right, some questions here. First of all, and earlier on, you were talking about people around the world thinking he's a good business person. Katrina Ray Porter says, why do people think 45 is a good business person?
Because the only thing that comes out of their mouth is, every time I ask them, the very first thing that comes out of the mouth is, oh, he's a good business person. He had all those casinos. He was so big in New York City. He bankrupted all of those. And all of his dealings in New York City have been shady. He's filed bankruptcy. How many times, Aisha? Like 7?
Several times. And let's be clear. Some of those bankruptcies included his casinos in Atlantic City. I mean, Atlantic City has never really recovered from the losses from his casinos, but successful businessman. Okay, let's run down these. Trump Airlines, where is it?
Gone.
Trump Water, Trump States, Trump University. He had to pay back those students for stealing their money. Okay, he couldn't even get it accredited. And so every business that he's created he's either bankrupted or had to shut down and was sued. Now, talk about his real estate business. Well, guess what? One of the things that we learned in the fraud case with Tish James is that a lot of that is heavily mortgaged and owned by banks. He doesn't even own his own stuff.
No.
Like the Trump Tower, he rents Trump Tower from somebody else that owns it, right? He leases.
And then not only that, he did things like in the casino situation when he was divorcing, what's her name, Marlo, the second one. He was in so much debt. He got the money to pay her on that alimony thing from the casinos. He pulls that kind of crap all the time. And this is well known, but people don't want to talk about that. He has never been a good businessman. He's always written himself up to be. And we already know he sends his own lies to the newspapers for the newspapers to report. He's the one who's the creator of fake news, but then want to call fake news out when he's the one who created it. And this fake money that he has no money. He has no money. None of this is
LaLa. If you or I declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, people would tell us that we were horrible with money. We were bad with money. We weren't good business people. As many times as this man has filed Chapter 11, he filed Chapter 11 on the casinos.
Yes.
But you still want to think he's a good business person?
I just want to interject for a quick second because you're on a roll. 45 has declared business bankruptcy 6 times.
You tell me that's a good businessman. Please, would you please tell me that? Because there's nothing good about that kind of business. And only rich people want to tell you that's just a part of business. But let you do it.
Bankruptcy stops your creditors from coming after you. He stops his creditors from coming after him, then withdraws all the money from whatever it is and diverts it elsewhere. So rather than paying back his creditors, he diverts it elsewhere. But this is the man who's going to sit here and complain about student loan forgiveness as many times as he's had loans forgiven. Come on.
I'm sick to my stomach right now.
Not only
I'm
that,
literally
in the
sick to my
same
stomach
years
right
that
now.
he's bankrupted businesses, he also claimed massive tax returns, millions, hundreds of millions, tens of millions of dollars. This isn't a good businessman.
But he's a good businessman. I beg to differ, but he's writing his own ticket because people like to see someone like him make it, and it's all about the people that he knows. And it's the comment is always good thing. They know how to schmooze enough people to keep their coffers filled, and then when they get tired of that, they go to the next person to appease the first person that put money in their coffers, and then next thing you know, he's going to the third one. It's a Ponzi scheme, is what it is.
Yeah,
he plays Ponzi.
Right, but to your question earlier, Dr. Vibe, about there's going to be like some kind of October surprise. Here's why I don't think so. Because he didn't plan on having to run against someone else.
No, this is why he's melting.
There was no backup plan for him to run against anyone else. So on every cylinder, everything that they have fired on, because remember, he spent 2 years building up a campaign strategy against one particular person. Even her as vice president wasn't on their radar because they weren't even looking. They're like their view. The vice president doesn't matter. So now they are so far behind in pivoting strategy. All he did was fire people, but didn't bring in anyone new. But the other part too is that you also have to have a disciplined candidate. Donald Trump has no discipline. Okay. And he's not a politician. Kamala Harris is a politician. So she does have that modicum of discipline that he does not have. Let's be very clear. Why did he win in 2016? 2 reasons.
He didn't even think he was going to win. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, Aisha, but I honestly do want to say this. He honestly didn't think he was going to win. Come on, y'all. When y'all look at him, he's a deer in headlights.
But there are actually 3 reasons why he did win. One, there were a lot of the racism in this country felt against the Obamas was something that people could not get past. 1. 2, Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate, period. It's not that she was a bad person. She had the baggage of 30 years with her going into that. That's the second thing. The third thing is that there was a lot of disinformation and misinformation from Russia. The Russian interference was real. We don't have that right now. We have the disinformation, the misinformation, but it's largely coming. The bots are helping, but it's largely coming from the places that we know it's going to come from. Americans are more on guard about that kind of information. But also, too, I think we also have to consider the fact that there are things that have happened that have changed things for people. This Roe decision, Trump just said yesterday it's not a big deal, and Democrats wanted it too. He's not listening. Even
because he's too busy being angry.
Exactly. Even in the red, Kansas is a red state. Remember, they were the first after Roe was brought down to codify it into law. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And the fact that you have more young people who are now registered and looking forward to voting. Remember, this is going to affect them more often than not. You know why Trump doesn't care about Roe? He doesn't care about Roe because he looks around at people his age. Well, guess what? All the women their age are in menopause.
Yeah.
Period. He looks at Gen Z. We're all pretty much in menopause. Okay. So it's like, oh, it doesn't matter to them, but it matters to young people. It matters to women who still, to be told, anyone who's been pregnant, to be told that, okay, just in case something goes wrong, if we need to do something to preserve your health, we cannot, you're just going to have to die. That doesn't sit well with people. It really doesn't. Not when we have the technology and the medical science to do something about it. And so that really has, like I said, I have a college age kid. That's amplifying college age young women, people like that. It really, really is. And I think that is the challenge. But he is so focused on his own personal grievance. Again, I said this before, it doesn't even matter what card is he going to pull there, because the bottom line, if he had it, he'd pull it right now and stop the momentum. He'd stop the momentum. If he had it, he would have pulled it at that press conference. He had a press conference where he basically said nothing at all. Nothing but the same old shtick.
But that's all he knows how to do is to keep repeating. And when he doesn't repeat that, y'all see what happens. He goes off on the rails.
Right.
I mean, he literally cannot focus if he doesn't say the same thing over and over. You know, another thing about that, and I want you guys to understand this because there's something really real to that. When people hear the same thing over and over and over at a certain amount of time, it becomes a belief to them. It becomes a truth to them. So there's a reason that he repeats himself. It's not only because he's an idiot. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to, he is an idiot to me. He's a complete idiot, but he's smart enough to know that if he repeats the same thing, his Kool-Aid drinking folk are going to swallow it as truth. And we see that for a fact right now in everything that they do. He does no wrong to them.
And that's what we talked about last week with the art of subliminal seduction. That is one of the chapters in there. It tells you if you repeat something X number of times and you just keep repeating it and keep repeating it, people remember it. Think about your favorite remember back in the day, they used to have Coca-Cola had the slogan, "Have a Coke and a Smile."
Yeah. And
every time you saw that commercial, you repeat, it's like, oh, what's the slogan from Coke? Oh, have a Coke and a smile. You know, they would say, look, they would go people would say it on TV. They'd say it in, sitcoms and stuff like that. And so that's how you build a brand. He focuses on the building of the brand, but there's no substance behind the brand. And the truth of the matter is that we've got some serious issues right now. People want to hear solutions to those issues. Yes, the cost of things are very high. I went to the grocery store today. I was surprised at how much I spent. I didn't expect to spend as much as I did. But he's saying nothing. What is he going to do? Oh, day one, I'm going to drill, baby, drill. Well, guess what? What is that going to do? What is that going to do?
Nothing.
Especially when the cost of gas literally just went down this week. You're not paying anything that's going. No, you have no policy positions and you have no plans. And to the counteract that, well, does Kamala Harris have policy positions and plans? Yeah, actually she does. Go check out her website. They have a whole platform of positions and things that they're going to do. But the other side of it too is that, they're smart enough to say, hey, we need the House and the Senate to put those things into action, because that is how our policies work. Americans are fundamentally ignorant on U.S. civics and how the government works, how something comes to be, how a bill becomes a law. Most people don't realize that the bills, a president can tell the party what he wants. It has to either originate in the House, originate in the Senate, but it has to go through votes. It has to go through committees. It has to go through all these things. When he gets it or she gets it, they sign it into law. That is how it happens. The things that they can just do with the stroke of a pen, executive orders, guess what? When they're not president anymore, the first thing that someone does, like when Donald Trump first got into office, the first thing he spent his time doing was rolling back every executive order that Barack Obama put into place.
Obama.
You want to know why immigration went into such a free fall under him? Because he took that, he got rid of the executive order on DACA and all that stuff. He got rid of it. And I think that is, people are like, well, why don't they just do executive orders? Of course they can do them, but it's a Band-Aid. What happens when you take the Band-Aid off? The cut is still there and it's still bleeding.
And the same thing when Biden got in. I mean, this is the way it works, y'all. It is the way it works. You know, a lot of the times the policies that we are living under right now came from the previous administration. However, what happens, people think that whoever is at the head of the helm at the time is the one who is doing the hammer at that time. That's not true. You have to look back and see where it got implemented and when it got put into place. It's almost always never the person who is sitting in the presidential seat. It was the previous person.
Ladies, hold on. Do I have your permission to catch up on comments?
Yeah.
There's a whole pile of them. Sorry to interrupt, but you're on fire. But okay, let's go back a bit. So Phil from Ireland says 45 ripped off so many contractors over the year. He calls them a 2-bit.
He ripped off states. The states are still complaining that he hasn't paid their bills from rallies from 2016.
Katrina says on Facebook, there are many people who lost their business due to they had dealings with 45 and he wouldn't pay them for the work they did. Ryan O'Neill Knight, my co-host on the Morning Vibe, Monday and Friday.
Hi, Ryan.
At 9 a.m. Believe me, 45 still has 45 card he has yet to use. And that will pull the attention back to him. Phil has a comment about Project 2025. Phil, I'm going to suggest you subscribe to my YouTube page and go back a little bit. These ladies did a whole show on Project 2025.
And when we say we did a whole show, we did a whole show. We broke it down.
And we talk about it weekly, and we do talk about it weekly. So
yeah, okay. Phil says I'm left of center, but the far left did some damage to the Democrats. Katrina says 45 is not thinking of the younger generation. Phil says, I like Bernie, but he sold out. Sad, really. He says he lived in the USA for years. His daughter is a citizen. He says you have no real choice over there. Katrina says 45 is acting on emotions and not looking at the bigger picture. In regards to him saying things over and over and believing that they're true, Katrina agrees. He says they begin to believe that's true. Phil says, remember the last polls when he won it was a landslide for Clinton. Polls are, we're going to talk about fact checking.
And we've had many conversations about the polls too.
Okay, Katrina the reporter says, I had someone tell me that it was Biden's fault that the cost of food is so high. Phil says, whoever wins, it's a big
price gouging.
Whoever wins, it's a big deal for Europe, where I live, where everyone is watching closely. And he says, okay, yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, scroll back. There was a whole, and both these ladies have gone through the over 900 pages of Project 2020.
And we also went through, Phil, if you go back, over 100, I went through over 100 things that, executive orders that he did, because he's always saying that Joe Biden was the worst president for Black people, and he was the best. I also went over his one compared to Joe Biden's hundreds.
Okay. Katrina wants to know, what do you feel your thoughts on Kamala's choice for VP?
Well, here's what I learned this week. I learned that there was a personal issue with Kelly, which is the reason why he wasn't chosen. Shapiro, there was a policy issue, and it wasn't Gaza. And Tim Walz checked all the boxes and had better chemistry with her above all, and was the one that was the most loyal. I think also too, no one's saying it, but I think the concern with Shapiro also was personal ambition.
I could see that.
and that can kind of, and the vice president's job is not to make a name for themselves above and beyond the ticket. It's to be that support person in the ticket. That's the assignment that Joe Biden understood as Barack Obama's vice president. I think that's the assignment that Kamala Harris understood as Joe Biden's vice president. I think Tim Walz gets that. But no doubt the excitement around them, they had 20,000 people at a rally yesterday.
Really, they packed that out.
Yes, but all of her rallies last week have been at capacity, people still wanting to get in. And that is, why do you think this man why do you think he was short-circuiting the other day at his press conference? Why do you think he even had the press conference at all? Just so he could complain about how big his rallies are. And to say that he had more people than Martin Luther King.
Girl, and Bernie King came out and said, you better stop lying on my daddy.
Yeah.
You don't want to make Bernie King angry.
That was a classic. Which leads to April Watson's comment. I think 45 has CPD.
I think he's just a flat out liar. I think
he is a liar.
Let me tell you something. If you know old people, I think my grandfather is 89, and sometimes there are things that he forgets. I think Trump is forgetting things. It's like that lie he told. He was in a helicopter with Willie Brown that almost went down, and Willie Brown told him some scandalous things about Kamala. So Willie Brown comes out and says, I was never in a helicopter with Donald Trump at all, period. Never even met the guy like that. And it ended up being the former mayor of San Francisco, Jay Brown, who happens to be a white guy. How do you confuse the black guy and the white guy? I don't know. But then Jay Brown says, yeah, I was in a helicopter with him, but we never talked about Kamala Harris, and I wouldn't have had anything negative to say about her. And then it was Gavin Newsom who said, yeah, we were in a helicopter flying over the fires in California, and he was afraid, Trump was afraid that the plane was going to crash and burn in the fires. So he took three different people
and made a story. He made a story.
I made a story because guess what? The part that he wanted people to hear wasn't the who, wasn't the how, wasn't the what, wasn't the where. He wanted them to hear the scandalous part.
Yeah.
He wanted him to hear, ooh, there's some scandal. Now, here's my thing. I told my daughter this, and I'm going to be as blunt as I was when I told her in the car when we're listening to this on MSNBC on Sirius XM in the car. I said, even if it was Willie Brown, what is the worst thing Willie Brown is going to say about Kamala Harris? What? That she likes it from the back? Well, Donald Trump slept with a whole daggone porn star, and we know it.
Not just one.
Exactly. Donald Trump was held liable for sexual assault. And nobody's talking about the fact that there is this whole affidavit and testimony about him allegedly and being accused of pedophilia. So what is the most scandalous thing a former romantic partner of hers could have said?
Woo woo! Look, exactly. She dated Montel Williams. Okay, right.
What could they have said that was far worse than Trump's sexual scandalous behavior?
Why do I feel the 45 campaign is trying to get anything on anyone who's had relations with her?
Oh yeah, you know they are.
Look at her with Montel Williams. I'm surprised they didn't call him Montel Jordan. But look at her with Montel Williams.
Just almost did that.
But look at her with Montel Williams wearing a nice dress. Okay, that was what, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
You're bringing up that. How about the fact that he was just convicted a few months ago on 34 counts?
Like that's not even in the storyline right now. And I never answered the question about to Katrina. Katrina is one of my peoples. I'm glad she's here. Thank you. I'm not ready to open my mouth yet about the vice presidential pick. Just know I'm still voting blue, but there's some things I am trying to learn and get clarification on before I speak on it.
Phil, I think it already has. He says, I think this will get dirty, this election. It will.
Oh, it's already dirty.
It's already dirty.
It's already dirty. But you know what? I thought about something. We've had this conversation and we're like, oh, he's going to go after this. He's going to go after this. But you know what, though? Think about it this way. She was the first Black woman of Asian descent who was Attorney General of California. She's heard it before. She's had to deal with it before. Same with her role as the DA of San Francisco. Same with her being only the second Black woman elected to the Senate. This is not something that she hasn't had to deal with before. And I think that any professional Black woman of a certain age already knows how to deal with these things, particularly if you're used to being in these spaces where there are very few of you. So I think how she's choosing to handle it is a good thing. I think the fact is she's choosing to handle it by saying, you know what, I'm not going to, a fire needs air. It needs oxygen to get bigger and to burn. And you know what she's saying? I'm not giving him any oxygen.
She's really not.
Because when you give him a little bit of oxygen, he sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And that is the smartest thing that she can do, is to not give him any care. What we're going to talk about what the media did, but what the media did after she gave that speech to the UAW, her speech was 7 minutes, but they covered a full hour of his, didn't cover hers. But the questions they peppered her with afterwards, like, what do you think about him? He said this, he said that. It's like, wait, you didn't ask her anything about what she said or her policies. Those are the things that people need to know about. You asked her what she thought about him having a temper tantrum. And guess what? She's smart enough to say that she's not going to answer that part. But her campaign, however, is releasing press releases that will that answer that for you. The media is doing that. And the press release said 78-year-old man throws a temper tantrum.
And that's exactly what it was. She called it like she seen it.
All right. Phil also says, I think Harris will be too strong for 45. He hopes so. He also says, why would a woman vote for 45? Crazy.
I'm with you on that one.
Katrina appreciates your take on the vice president candidate. She says, that's fair, LaLa. Dr. Tachi says, when you're dealing with orange filth, of course it will get dirty. And she goes, she is loving the conversation. So we're talking.
You know what? The media is
okay. Let's get to the topic. All right, because you're pushing the wall down.
I'm about to short circuit.
Okay, so let's talk about fact checking political candidates in the campaign. So go for it. Now you're loose. Now let it loose, Aisha.
The media has gotten completely irresponsible. And I'm talking specifically about these corporate media entities, okay? They are off the rails. How dare you say that, oh, she hasn't taken any of our questions yet. She hasn't had a press conference. She is 2 weeks into this campaign, 3 weeks into this campaign, right? Donald Trump didn't do a press conference with them for 2 months into his campaign. He's just been running his campaign longer. That is the difference. And guess what? And when he does take questions, he doesn't answer you.
Never answer you. Never answer you.
Stupid and dumb. You're not shouting and screaming at him the way you did Jean-Pierre, the way you scream at Joe Biden, the way that you would try and scream at Kamala Harris. Because we saw you all were screaming questions about her that weren't about anything that had to do with her campaign. They had to do with, it was like watching, middle school kids in school. Oh, so-and-so said this about you. What do you
exactly?
Oh, I'm going to go run and tell this person. So it's like, come on.
No one is doing any kind of responsible reporting at all anymore. At all.
And I appreciate the fact that Lawrence O'Donnell called out not just his own network, but every network for carrying that over 1 hour filth, that 1 hour and 30-minute garbage of this man, and didn't cover Kamala Harris's 7-minute speech. And here's the other part of me too that is really bothered by it. You know, you spent 90 minutes in the fact checking. Lawrence O'Donnell made this very good point. He said, you know what, the whole time that he was speaking, it's not like people in America don't have big screen TVs where you could just run up on one side, the fact checking while he's talking. It's like, because remember, people will turn it off after he's done talking. And it's like, oh, I guess I heard what he had to say. But not one question, not one reporter asked him a hard question. They did
but this is the reason why he wants it his way. He wants to be on Fox. He does not want any fact checking at all because he knows this is his wheelhouse when it comes to that. You can't, you know, he gets to get up there and ramble and say anything he wants. And then once that's in someone's ear, it stays there. But I am totally on board. And I think it's a wonderful idea that he was, one of the reporters was saying that all you have to do, you don't have to even stop and say, well, sir, that's not right. You know, anytime someone says a lie, not just Trump, everybody should be fact checked. Once it comes up, it should be like a scrolling thing on the side where you can read a perfect example in this reporter's thing was Trump likes to say that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, because I'm sick of people ignoring the fact that she's still vice president, is uneducated. Then you should be able to pop up, that's not true. She is a Howard University graduate, blah, 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 blah. And see that right beside it immediately. Honey, they probably couldn't even keep up with all the lies that he's saying.
Trump has yet to prove that he's not an idiot. He's out here calling people stupid and whatever. You have yet. Look, a cognitive test doesn't mean boo. It basically just means that you can eat oatmeal without drooling down the side of your mouth. What I want to know is, tell me what the 26th Amendment says. Oh, by the way, how many amendments are there, Mr. Trump? You were president. You were supposed to protect the Constitution. You should know that there are 27. How many?
And another perfect example. He keeps talking about he wants the Christians. He loves Christians. And so there's been many people who have actually asked him, and cracks me up every time. Well, sir, what is your favorite scripture? Well, I just can't choose one.
All of them. I don't really want to go into that.
All of them. I can't get into that.
Okay, so are you an Old Testament guy or New Testament? Well, no, both equally.
He knows nothing about the Bible, just like he doesn't know anything about the Constitution.
He doesn't even know the preamble to the Constitution.
Nope. And I know that just from Schoolhouse Rock.
Exactly.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
Maybe
I had to throw that in there.
Maybe Kamala picked the wrong VP running mate.
I think so.
He doesn't even know. The thing of it is that he doesn't even know what the First Amendment is. The First Amendment isn't, because here he is. Well, I think that you can't even say Merry Christmas anymore. That's against the First Amendment. No, the First Amendment isn't about the right to say what you want, free of consequences. Because if it was, you couldn't yell fire in a crowded room. It's about you being able to say what it is you want without your government taking action against you for doing so. But the First Amendment also provides freedom of religion and freedom of the press. The one thing that he, in Project 2025, wants to get rid of, a free press.
Everything that gives us rights basically gets wiped out with Project 2025.
Every last amendment to the Constitution. And the sad part is the guy who wants to do it doesn't even know what all the amendments say. You're going to let somebody who doesn't even know what the amendments are strip you of all of them. Again, Project 2025 is about that executive order he put in place that I keep talking about every week, and I'm going to keep saying it.
Yep.
That
keep on saying it, Aisha. Keep saying it.
That he couldn't get the people that were there wouldn't allow him to do was to expand the powers of the executive branch. Go look at his executive orders. Every year of his presidency, he signed an executive order to expand the powers of the executive branch.
Yep.
And the media is not doing the media needs to be doing. The media needs to be saying, okay, just so you all know, here are where both politicians stand on the issues. Here's what Kamala Harris stands on the issues, and this is how she says she's going to do X, Y, and Z. Here's where Trump stands. Here's where he says he's going to do X, Y, and Z. You know why they aren't doing that, and you know why they cannot do it? Because the GOP does not have a political platform.
No, they do not.
Remember, in 2020, they said, we're going to get rid of our platform. They literally said that. We're not going to have our platform. Our platform is going to be about getting Trump to win. Period. That was it. So because you don't have apples to oranges to compare, don't start throwing up coconuts.
Exactly.
What you need to say is
fall out of the coconut tree.
Right. Like, exactly. Stop acting like you fell out of a coconut tree. What you say is, guess what? We tried to find a platform that was comparable, a plan that was comparable. There isn't one. No. That is how you do the reporting. That is how you fact check a candidate, because you can best believe they're, put it this way, you can best believe they're doing it with candidates in the down ballot races.
Oh, they
I don't understand why this man is getting a get out of jail free card from the media.
Literally, but no, literally, you hit that right on the head. Literally.
Yeah, because we already know Evan Cannon gave him one.
Uh-huh.
And so put it this way, if he can steal classified documents, show them to people, keep them in unsecure places, and a judge that he appointed said, guess what? Nah, we're not going to even deal with that as a case. We're going to just let that go. And the Supreme Court says, well, he's got immunity. So if he did it, he's immune from prosecution for it. It should tell you that there's a problem and that the problem is him. Because guess what? They didn't do it for any other president prior. Richard Nixon didn't even get it done. Okay?
No.
And he was a whole criminal.
He sure was. Mr. I am not a crook.
Exactly. Richard Nixon has people break into the Watergate Hotel to steal some tapes. And Trump is like, "Ooh, hold my beer."
Exactly. Oh my God! Yes, exactly. Hold my beer. I got you.
Jump on.
It's the truth.
Got a few.
You have to laugh because sometimes you just have to laugh not to cry because it is so ludicrous.
Yeah.
Okay, Katrina Ray says, and that's how his supporters are. April says, if he shows up for the debate, they shouldn't tell him about the fact check till the first lie. Then see if he will walk off live TV.
Well, here's the thing. You know what reporters should do? Every time that man said, and I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. Every time that man said, well, I didn't know that you could turn, I didn't know she was black. She just all of a sudden turned black. You all of a sudden turn orange.
Exactly.
Every time. Counter him. You have to counter him because guess what? You can't deny that because Trump wasn't always an orange man.
No, he was not. And I do want to touch on.
And guess what? His hair wasn't always blonde.
Oh no!
I didn't know you could turn a blonde. And that's not really. I could
be blonde. Just give me some dye. I'm good. But I do want to kind of back up a little bit on the fact that we talk about this fact checking, and these debates that are coming up. If you look in the news, he proposed 3. All right. And the first one was Fox News, and then it was ABC. But what do you really think? Why do you really think that he said Fox News first? One, because that's his platform. He knows he's not going to be fact checked. And guess what? Then he won't show up for the other two.
Exactly.
So that was his strategy for that.
And not only that, but it's like, wait a second. Why are you proposing? There's already a debate scheduled.
Where are you at?
Because here's what he literally did. He said he was not going to debate her. Then he proposed a debate in another place, on another station, on a different date. Then says, "Oh, well, then I'll show up to the debate." This is something that you should know about any political campaign. This is how you know he knows he's in trouble, because he was not going to show up to a debate.
No, he was not.
Joe Biden on the 10th after that last debate.
Mm-mm.
He knew he didn't have to, right? The damage was done.
Yep.
The thing here is that he doesn't get anything by debating her. He gets more, and I mean in more, I'm using more in terms of meaning he gets less, more, which means he gets more of the negative chatter if he does not show up. And that is the calculation that he's making, is that, because remember how the headlines were the 2 days after he said he wasn't going to debate her. They dragged him through the mud. They sure did. People kept calling him a coward. Donald Trump is very transparent. And there's one thing that he said. He said this in a speech about a week and a half ago that I think went over in an interview he did with Fox or something. It went over and above a lot of people's heads. But guess who didn't miss it? Kamala Harris and her campaign. She is on it, y'all. She is on it. He said he hates being laughed at. Yeah. But that's very clear. So that is why her campaign has taken to, in the press releases, mocking him. You know what? They actually issued their own fact checking of everything that he said in that thing. He said that MAGA was 75% of America. No, sir. In your dreams. Exactly. No, MAGA, look, and this tells you, he confused 75% of America with 75 million people that voted for him. And look, if I could figure out that was his mistake, where he got that number 75% from, the media should have been on it. But no, the Harris campaign fact checked him. He hates being laughed at. And people were calling him a coward for not wanting to show up to the debate. But not only were they called, that's two things though, Aisha. He cannot stand to be called out of his name, and he cannot stand to be laughed at. So you have a double dose of him losing his on this, because he if he's not the center of attention at all times in a good manner for what he sees in his mind as a good manner, then that's when it becomes a problem. That was a double dose. That wasn't just one dose. That was a double dose. Right. And and to Ryan's point earlier, this is why I don't think that there is anything that they're going to be able to pull up in enough time. Remember, early voting for us starts in like 3.5 weeks for some people. I don't think that there's anything that they're going to be able to pull up in that time, because he is too busy short-circuiting and falling apart over the fact that he's not getting media attention. So what happens when he's not getting attention? He does something like that press conference that he didn't even, you could tell it was, he heard that she was doing something later that day. So he's like, I'm going to just beat her to it. Yeah, right? Exactly. He's going to hold this press conference and have people just come away from me and follow what I'm going to say. He didn't even have anything up to show that any of his campaign stuff, anything. He didn't even have JD Vance there. And then not only that, but he also has a vice president candidate who cannot stop being strange. The other thing too is, you're right about the name calling. He hates being called weird. This thing about being called weird is
That's
driving him
freaking him
crazy.
out.
And when his only comeback is like, well, no, they're weird. Huh? Because remember, he was the one that people were afraid of because he was calling them names. So then what does he do? Do you know that the same name that he called Hillary Clinton and then he called Joe Biden, he's now calling Kamala Harris? It's old. He has nothing.
He has no other play card.
His campaign is politically bankrupt. Not only that, but then there was the outraising of the money. The millions of dollars, and we talked about this, the millions of dollars that she got on Tuesday. Okay? On Tuesday, they raised in that 24-hour period $40 million from her VP pick announcement. She has almost $400 million in her campaign, $377 million cash on hand. And remember that $50 million ad buy that they said they were going to do? They raised it to $75 million.
All right,
so he doesn't have this.
One more conversation piece before we got to shut it down. Yeah. One other thing, and Katrina says, "In JD Vance is no better."
No,
right.
Especially the stalking. Wait, did you see him stalking her?
Oh my God! Did you see that?
To the point that the Secret Service had to yell, "Not a stalker! Not a stalker! Not a stalker!" Because he runs up on her tarmac.
There's something totally, y'all. That is a next level twisted.
That is psycho. That's an
y'all remember that movie American Psycho when your man came out and he was like, "Look at my business card." No, well, my business card looks better. That reminded me of that, y'all. He wants her gone, and when I say gone, I mean in the worst way gone. You don't roll up on our leaders like that. I don't give a who you think you are. You are not in a position of power to do what you just did. And I actually am offended that nothing was done about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't care if he had Secret Service rolling with him. Her Secret Service should have tackled him down.
Yeah, I agree.
Because remember, she's next in power. He's not.
That's right. That was just that was weird.
Before we go, Mary Jo Allen says, the Orange Emperor will take himself out like he did in 2020 when he called the COVID-19 a democratic hoax. And don't forget about September 18th and the immunity cases being realisticated. And don't forget Georgia and Caucus Industries. Coke Industry can't help them. Katrina goes, I was surprised that JD Vance wasn't thrown to the ground.
Yeah, they should have tackled him. But guess what? I'm guessing too the reason that they didn't was because his Secret Service had told them, because they were ready. They were ready. They're like, who is this person rolling up? It was his Secret Service that said, not a stalker, not a stalker. We just had, because he basically
how the hell do you think they feel? That was some serious stuff.
But he also put their lives at danger.
Yes, he did.
Their lives in danger too, because they didn't know if those were Secret Service people. They just see a whole bunch of white dudes in suits rolling up on this woman that they're supposed to protect.
I'm really surprised that didn't turn out much worse than what it did.
Well, the problem too is that that was the one that got caught on camera, but apparently he was doing it all week. Every place,
following every stop,
following her every place, and showing up at the airport.
Is that stalking?
Yes.
Okay. And she should get a restraining order.
Oh, all right. Let's move forward to our last conversation piece. The lady's going to talk about, can more Black community groups begin to wield political power?
I brought this topic up because this morning I saw an article from NPR that the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated launched its own political PAC.
Did they?
Political Action Committee to raise money in support of Kamala Harris. And I thought about it and I'm like, wow, do you know how many people that is worldwide? That's that kind of power. And I think that this is something that we can see replicated not just among the Divine Nine, not just among HBCU grads, but also in these individual, small community nonprofit organizations that we see in our communities. That people start. You have these organizations that work individually for gun violence in our communities. What if they all got together and wielded their power instead of just trying to operate in silos for political power? Because remember, political power and economic power are about the money, and they're also about the numbers. With the numbers is where the money comes from. How come Kamala Harris was able to raise all the money she raised? Because they expanded the electorate and they got enough people excited. Well, I think that our organizations can do that as well. And I think that's a lesson. If we think about how we were able to get so many things done, we think about the organizations in the community like Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SNCC, and those organizations. Well, they brought together small pockets of organizations and groups and think people that were organized to this under this one big umbrella for this one end. And I think that is an opportunity that I see for our community. Able to do that with a lot of things, but just so we have more political power than we've had in the past. And I think it's a lesson that, for example, LULAC, the largest Latino serving civil rights organization, endorsed its first political candidate, and they've been in operation for more than 50 years, right? This is the first time they endorsed a political candidate. But guess what? That there's political power in that. There's financial and economic power for that community in that. And I think that, I think this is an opportunity. And I think one of the things that we're seeing with this coalition building, again, that we're seeing with the excitement of this particular campaign is the possibilities of what can be if we work together.
Yeah. And I've always said that. I mean, I try to post a lot of things like this. You're more than welcome. Anybody can follow me on my Facebook. I'm public. I talk about it. But I did post something the other day that I really feel was important. And I wrote it from my heart. There was a young lady in the Black Panther Party, and they were showing her with food, a bag of food on her hips and her fist up. And they were talking about how the government really fought hard to take them down. And there is actual power in the words power to the people. You have to understand that we are the people. And if we don't get together on a basic level, just like the Black Panther Party did, and the fact that if we continue to yield our power, we will always be the ones that will be the last served and last taken care of, because this is obviously not, it's also, we all know it's based on racism. We know that too, but it's also becoming such a wide gap between the have and have nots, which includes a lot of people, not just people of color. If you don't have your part, guess what? They throwing you in the pot with us and mixing you right in. When are you going to get tired? And this is why I'm loving this, that the fact that they're getting this together is, when are you going to get it together and understand that when we are the ones who get it together and decide that we want change, then all of the stuff that you won't need a Dr. Vibe show Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa when we have the power and take it back.
Yeah, because the other thing too is that we've got, us as the people, we've got business we want taken care of for us, right? There are things that we need to have happen in our lives. What we don't need are for people like Jesse Waters to sit on their show with Harold Ford Jr., who is a whole Black man. I know because I interned at the NAACP, the Nashville branch, when he was a state rep in Nashville, and sat on the Labor and Industries Committee with him. To hand him a hat that says, "Oh, I've got you a gift." It says "White Dudes for Harris." And Harold Ford Jr., he says to Harold Ford Jr., you are white or half white, right? And he says, "No, I'll give it to my father-in-law." we people are sick. I mean, the fact that he felt okay to do that, and as if that's, who's that helping? Whose grocery bill is that going to lower?
Nobody's. I had a friend post today, literally. She does not live in California. She lives in one of the interstates. And she said, I wanted a bag of apples today. And she didn't go to Whole Foods. She didn't go to this, I don't even know. It was a lower grocery store, a regular grocery store. A bag of apples, $9.
Wow.
$9 for what? No more than 6 or 7 apples.
It's cheaper here than
well, the one benefit about living in New England is that it's apple country. So apples are about to go down in price as it gets closer to September. But yeah, that's insane.
As we're starting, we got to wind it down on both. In regards to Blacks community groups, do you think they should start at their local level, yielding?
Yes.
Because yes, there's a national election going on, but start local at least.
Yes, always start local. Always start, honey. If you need to start on just your street, start on your street, because it's like they always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You can't just take on the large things and assume that you're going to be able to jump in there and make the changes. What you do is you start on your local level. You start with the block parties. You start with the lemonade stands. You start with taking care of one another. You start with the babysitting groups. You start with the kids that are in your school. These are the things that are important. This is why it's so important. I don't think anybody has any questions if you've ever followed us for a long time. For Aisha and I to always say you must pay attention to what is around you, starting with you first. You, your household, now your community, now your schools. This is beyond dire. You have to understand that is your starting point.
Right. And I think that isn't that how all this, think about it. Tim Walz did free breakfast and lunch for all kids in the entire state. My hometown did that years ago, right? He didn't do anything but replicate something that works. But guess where all this originated? The Black Panther Party. We're doing it in Oakland, in there, in that area for those kids in that community. And it worked. It helped. And so what we have here is the fact that something small in one community has the potential to become bigger and something that we can all benefit from at some point. Because guess what? When communities uplift themselves, we're the base holding up the rest of the country. Small communities.
That's it. And I think we have my just little thought. If we're gonna solve our problems, we got to be the people that do it.
Yes.
There we go. All right. We are out. We got some quick last comments here because the family's in hard. JJ Mar says grassroots is ground zero in politics, 100%. April says JD Vance said he wanted to see what his plane looks like.
I'm sorry, you don't get to check out and measure drapes for windows in a house until the payment has gone through, everything's in escrow, and you sign the papers.
All right.
We're still putting in an offer.
Ryan says 45 may fake his own kidnapping. All right.
That's a real estate joke, right, love?
I got it immediately.
Yes. Ryan says he may fake his own kidnapping.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And Ryan comes with a really good idea. We should have a watch party for the next debates.
Yeah.
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
You know what? That would be nice, actually. They do it on all the networks. Look, maybe we'll catch things that they don't, and we'll, instead of us having to cover it, just air it live here and watch it, and we can chat in the comments, and then afterwards do a wrap up. I'm cool with that.
I love that idea, and you know what? we should actually invite some people who want to take part in that because Ryan's on this side of the border in Canada. If we could get a group of people, have a virtual watch party.
That's a really good idea.
For the September 10th. I think that'd be, I think I like that idea.
I do too.
And Jen Meyer says, great idea. So that message is endorsed by the Jen Myers Inc. campaign. That's endorsed. All right. That is a great idea. I really like that idea. I think, and we could have a North American audience on the watch party. So we're going to run with that. We're certainly going to talk about that and run with it. Actually, let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah, let's make that happen. All right. As always, I want to thank the ladies for taking time after a very, very engrossing week. Very busy, very heavy, but we got it all in. And as always, we want them to share their contact information. First up, she's key. I like that. She's key.
I am key. And I'm the key to what you want to live in your dream home. No, I'm a key to a lot of things, y'all, but most of all, positivity and love. We got to make sure that we take a deep breath. Guess what? Because life is going to go on regardless. We fight for justice. We continue to fight for justice. But make sure that you breathe. And you can find everything about me at this one little site. I made it real easy for you. You can get all sorts of free resources and find me on all my social medias at bit.ly/Laura Key Info.
All right. Aisha K. Staggers, this is your time.
That is my social media. Tomorrow, I will be doing the Prince Symposium for Come 30 anniversary. The women's panel, 12:30 to 2, I believe it is. There's still time to sign up if you follow at Polished Solid on Twitter. D'Angela, she's got great information for you. She hosts it. So there's that. And also, if you get a chance, go buy My Sister Tommy, which is the story of Tammy Terrell by her sister Ludi Montgomery and my dear friend Vicki Wright. And you can catch my little acknowledgement in the book.
Wonderbar. We love it. We love it. We love it. All right. If people want to get a hold of myself, actually, you can watch replays. Let me do the watch replays of this epic conversation at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Also on my website, thedrvibeshow.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, I just said the website, but then YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the_DR_VIBE_SHOW. Instagram at the_DRVIBESHOW. X/Twitter, when they let us broadcast there, at DRVIBESHOW. And, by the way, Aisha is very active on Twitter, by the way. So definitely check her out on Twitter. And then you can email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. As always, let's close it off with some things. There is the Patreon address. It's in the comments on most of the platforms that you're watching this on. Primetime Saturday show store. New stuff is coming. Gonna pop it out here. It's also in the chat. Check out Girlfriend's chat from last week. Aisha, Jill Jones, and LaLa were racking it up. Unfortunately, family, there's some stuff you ain't going to catch on the replay, but that's between them. Join the Primetime Saturday Discord group. Email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so you can get me to 1,600 subscribers. If you're up to it, the Dr. Vibe Show, follow me, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And that's it. And always, we close off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourselves grace. I want to say thank you to some of the new people that were on tonight. Phil from Ireland. Please, if you're out to it, Phil. And also to Mary Jo and to Katrina. If you can, go to the Dr. Vibe Show page on YouTube and subscribe and hit the notification button. And everybody who's watching this, tell other people about it. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith and walk good.